Each power plant installed on an airplane with a standard airworthiness certificate must have been type certificated. The following statement is true. Serviceability limits for turbine blades are much more stringent on those for turbine nozzle vanes. Which of the following conditions is usually not acceptable in any extent in turbine blades? Cracks. How are discharge nozzles in a fuel-injected reciprocating engine identified to indicate the flow range? By an identification letter stamped on one of the hexes of the nozzle body. A ground incident that results in propeller sudden stoppage would require a crankshaft runout inspection. What publication would be used to obtain crankshaft runout tolerance? A current manufacturer's maintenance instructions. What maintenance records is and are required following a major repair of an aircraft engine? Entries in the Engine Maintenance Record, Logbook, and FAA Form 337. Which of the following contains approved data for performing a major repair to an aircraft engine? Manufacturer's maintenance instructions when FAA approved. What publication is used for guidance to determine whether a power plant repair is major or minor? The Federal Aviation Regulations, Part 43, Appendix A. Which of the following can inspect and approve an engine major repair for return to service? Certificated mechanic with inspection authorization. When inspecting an aircraft reciprocating engine, what document is used to determine if the proper magnetos are installed? The aircraft engine specifications or type certificate data sheets, TCDS. Which of the following is used to monitor the mechanical integrity of the turbines, as well as check engine operating conditions of a turbine engine? The exhaust gas temperature. Refer to the figure down below and determine which portion of the AD is applicable for model O-690 series engine, serial number 5863-40, with 283 hours time in service. The answer is B1. Compliance is required as it is set forth in the AD. The serial number is within the range in Section B, and the amount of hours for compliance is shown in Section 1. The breaking loose of small pieces of metal from coated surfaces, usually coated by defective plating or excessive loads, is called flaking. Straightening nitrided crankshafts is not recommended. You are performing a 100-hour inspection on an R985-22 aircraft engine. What does the 985 indicate? The total piston displacement of the engine. Which of the following component inspections is to be accomplished on a 100-hour inspection? Check cylinder compression. When must an airworthiness directive, an AD, be complied with after it becomes effective, as specified in the AD? Which of the following contains a minimum checklist for 100-hour inspections of engines? 14 CFR Part 43, Appendix D. Regarding the statements above, both number 1 and number 2 are true. Airworthiness directives, ADs, are federal aviation regulations and must be complied with unless specific exemption is granted. That is true. Airworthiness directives of an emergency nature may require immediate compliance upon receipt. That is also true. Select the airworthiness directive, the AD, applicability statement which applies to the IVO 355 engine, serial number T8164, with 2,100 hours total time and 300 hours since rebuilding. It applies to all IVO 355 engines, serial numbers T8000 through T8300, having less than 2,400 hours total time. Indentations on bearing races caused by high static loads are known as brenneling. On a reciprocating engine aircraft using a shrouded exhaust muffler system as a source for cabin heat, the exhaust system should be visually inspected for any indication of cracks, or an operational carbon monoxide detection test should be done. Where would one find type design information for an R1830-92 engine certificated under the Civil Air Regulations (CAR) and installed on a D3? The aircraft engine specifications. A severe condition of chafing or fretting in which a transfer of metal from one part to another occurs is called galling. How is it possible to identify an engine without any technical data? The engine data plate contains information related to the manufacturer, model, and serial number of the engine. What additional inspection should be performed if a cylinder compression is below normal for that cylinder? An internal cylinder inspection should be performed using a borescope before the cylinder is removed. How would a mechanic determine what ADs would apply to a specific engine? Review ADs and biweekly summary as well as the historical records of the engine. When would it be necessary to perform a hot section inspection on an engine? It is necessary when specified by the manufacturer based on time in service intervals as well as any time that a turbine section over temperature event has occurred. Where does a mechanic or inspector find a list of life-limited parts? The Type Certificate Datasheet, TCDS, or Inspection and Limitation section of Manufacturer's Maintenance Manual will have a list of the life-limited items for the engine.